This is a significant occasion. The Society New Zealand Division normally issues Meritorious Service Awards and other awards at the annual dinner. The timing of that this year and the fact that it's the sesquicentennial year meant that we had one special award in Wellington last Friday night when Air Vice Marshal Peter Adamson was awarded a Meritorious Service Medal, and we have arranged for tonight to take advantage of Sir Stephen's visit to have the second special Meritorious Service Award for 2016. The Meritorious Service Award is made by the Council and recognises long service, long-term contribution and practical achievements in all sections of aerospace in New Zealand. It takes the form of a certificate, a citation and a medal. The Meritorious Service for tonight is made to Warrant Officer Bryan Cox, Royal New Zealand Air Force, retired. Bryan is a veteran fighter pilot who served in the RNZAF during the Second World War and went on to a long and successful civil aviation career. His first ever flight was in February 1943 in a Tiger Moth with a cruising speed of 175 kilometres an hour. By April, he was flying Harvards at 330 kilometres an hour. 4 months later, he had advanced to Kitty Hawks travelling at 580 kilometres an hour, and in September, Corsairs that dive-bombed at 670 kilometres an hour. Bryan completed 3 operational tours in the Pacific before the cessation of hostilities in August 1945. His military service continued when he was assigned to 14 Squadron in support of the post-war policing of Japan. Bryan flew his last Corsair flight on 31 March 1947, returning to New Zealand, and was demobbed. He did not set foot in another aeroplane for 9 years. In 1956, after a visit to the Auckland Aero Club at Mangere, he embarked on a civil aviation career that lasted until his retirement in 1993. Initially a flight instructor, he trained as an air traffic controller and in 1956 set up the Manukau Flying School. This organisation continues today as Flightline Aeronautical College. He has flown an estimated 18,000 hours as an instructor. Bryan has also been involved in a number of aviation groups and has been an aerobatic and display pilot. He has written several books on aviation, including a New Zealand Guide to Flight Training, Too Young to Die, Pacific Scrapbook, and Cats Have Only 9 Lives, about his wartime and subsequent career. From his very first experience as a student pilot with the RNZAF, Bryan developed an encyclopedic recall of flights, incidents and technical specifications of the aircraft he flew, which he is readily able to recount. His 12 pilots' logbooks verify every one of the 21,145 flying hours he made in 21,620 flights over 4 decades. Even in his 90s in Tauranga, Bryan continues to share his passion for aviation with others and does his bit as a volunteer at the Classic Flyers Air Museum. Bryan Cox is a very worthy recipient of the Royal Aeronautical Society's Meritorious Service Award. Bryan, come on.
There you go. Here you are. This is for you. To mark the occasion. All yours. You earned it. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Closer.
Well, you don't want to believe all you hear, but still, I guess I have been involved in aviation for a few years, seeing that I attended the very first Air Training Corps parade in Hamilton, number 7 Squadron, I think it was, yes. And that was on the 13th of September 1941. So a few years have elapsed since then. As our speaker just mentioned, post-war I didn't fly for a number of years for basically family reasons. In fact, I did such things as milk cows and other similar pursuits until I got back into aviation through air traffic control. There's one or two here who might remember what I'm referring to as well. Actually, I just would like to say how honoured and privileged I am to receive this award, which has come completely out of the blue, and especially being presented by Sir Stephen Walton here, who's had such an illustrious career. I think you would have gathered from the previous speaker that I think it was between 2009 and 13 he was Air Chief Marshal in charge of the RAF as such, which is a great honour to receive my award from you, sir. I've been slightly surprised at one or two who have arrived here today who I didn't expect, and I just mention a couple of names, one being one David Morgan, who was one of my instructors at Ardmore at one stage, and David is now Chief Pilot for Air New Zealand, regardless of what I did to him. The other name I'd like to mention is Air Commodore Stuart Boys from Tauranga, with whom I've had a lot of contact ever since the year 1995 when I came back from living in Australia for a year and moved to Tauranga instead of going to Ardmore. I didn't go to Ardmore because at that stage I was being requested to do private pilot renewals for all the oldest pilots around. And so I lost a few friends at that stage. So I decided it more prudent to give Ardmore a miss and finally retire in Tauranga. And Air Commodore Stuart Boys and he was president and I was secretary, treasurer, editor for New Zealand fighter pilots for 11 years. So in that capacity I really enjoyed, because I turned out some journals of memoirs of all our well-known fighter pilots. Those memoirs are now in the hands of David Homewood, who's here somewhere, Dave. Anyway, and so he's more or less put them into the digital style rather than the hand-typed style that I had them in. Well, I think that's about all I need to say, and thank you all for coming. But as I say, it came out of the blue, this, and even until I got here, I thought there would be several of us getting these awards. However, so I do feel privileged that I have received this award. Thank you all very much.
This is the certificate as well. That's the citation I read.
Okay.
And that's the award. That will look good on a wall.
Yes, thank you very much.
Right.
Thanks, Ben.
Sorry.
Follow that if you can. I feel a little bit exposed now, as they say, after that phenomenal story and an extraordinarily lucid and heartfelt speech. That, Bryan, I think is an absolute real remark of your standard and your quality and your ability at this stage to still be able to so lucidly speak. So a real privilege to follow you, and I'm not sure that I'm going to match that at all, but I'll do my best.